every 20 minutes. It's your statewide Alabama weathercast.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Drew McCombs with the Alabama Weather Network. Have your mid-morning Alabama forecast and got some nice pictures from our sky watchers from yesterday. And you can see here that this is the sunset coming from Joey Amberson and Oxmoor Valley. So beautiful blue skies there and some clouds around. Looking at Jonathan Applin's picture from Hope Hull, beautiful rainbows here. Main rainbow, looks like got a little one, smaller one over to the left there, but had showers and thunderstorms that had moved through the area, and then this was happening right after those passed through. So again, been seeing lots of nice rainbows this summer for sure. And then also Valerie Hughes, so she's lives in Tuscaloosa, but she's visiting Big Mountain, Montana, and sent us some beautiful pictures from her view there atop Big Mountain, and it's just beautiful out there. So again, need to visit there someday for sure. All right, back to Alabama. We've got our satellite and radar and got some low cloud cover across, especially kind of the eastern and northeastern part of the state, maybe even a few showers up in parts of Cherokee County, but most places starting off dry. Most places have a good bit of sunshine out there as well. We'll see that looking at the Skycam network. Hatton is already up to 82 degrees with some blue skies and some few clouds around. Wind is calm. And then the dew point is around 70 degrees, so not as much moisture, not as much humidity up in the northern part of the state. Looking across the campus of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, temperature is already at 83 degrees. Dew points actually not as high there either. It looks like kind of on the western side of the state, maybe a little bit lower dew points, but blue skies, nice puffy clouds out there. And then as we continue to move towards the south, Jefferson, again, blue skies, a few clouds around there. Nice looking view there from Jefferson. And then Dauphin Island looking out towards the Gulf. Got a few towers trying to build out over the Gulf right now, but the temperature's already into the mid 80s there with a little bit more humidity in place, but a beautiful looking start there along the coast. Okay, so what we're watching for today, this weekend, and through the beginning of next week is scattered thunderstorms going to be still the story for this afternoon and through the weekend. Today, mostly going to be in the southern part of the state. As we get into Saturday, though, could be a little bit more widespread over the entire state as this front approaches. But the good thing about that front is that dry air will arrive with it by Monday, and cooler nights next week and cooler afternoons as well. It'll be kind of a fall preview, and we'll always take that in late August. So as far as low temperatures so far today, it's been a little bit cooler in some spots. Got down to 66 in Coleman. Same thing in Hamilton. Mostly low 70s across the rest of the state. We did have our sky watcher Jeff Lee in Carbon Hill get to 64 degrees, so that's the lowest I've seen. So yeah, a little bit of a preview for maybe even next week, what we got this morning in some spots at least. Temperatures, though, right now, we've warmed up a good bit already. We're in the 80s in most spots. It's 80 in Clanton, 86 degrees in Birmingham already, just 79 in Coleman and Anniston. And again, some of the spots where there's been a little bit more cloud cover, not quite as warm yet, but Gulf Shores, though, already approaching 90 degrees there. Forecast highs for today, generally going to be more moderate than what we've seen earlier in the week where we were reaching 100 degrees in some spots. Expecting mainly going to be mid to upper 80s and in some spots reaching 90 degrees. So expecting 91 degrees in Tuscaloosa, 88 in Monroeville, 90 in Geneva, 87 in Eufaula. The rain totals of the past 24 hours saw some heavy thunderstorms again yesterday, like we've been seeing the last couple of days. Again, especially in the southern part of the state where we got 85 hundredths of an inch in Andalusia, got almost or a little bit more than a quarter of an inch in Eufaula, close to a half inch in Troy, and also a little bit more than a quarter inch in Tuscaloosa as well. Although again, most places did stay dry, but there was certainly some heavy rain. We got a few flood advisories and things of that nature. Today, similar story possible in the central and southern part of the state where we'll have scattered showers and thunderstorms again, mainly in that area, not as much up north of the 2059 corridor. And where there are showers and thunderstorms, could see some pretty heavy storms with that and some pretty heavy rain, lots of lightning, the typical thing in the summer. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, a little bit more widespread showers and thunderstorms up towards the northern part of the state as this frontal boundary approaches, and could see some fairly heavy rain and some stronger storms in the southeastern part of the state near Geneva and Dothan and places in kind of the southeast corner there. So certainly still going to have some heavy rain and spots over the weekend, although still not expecting a complete washout at all times for any one spot. As we get into Sunday, though, you start to see this little linear area right here of showers and thunderstorms. That's going to be kind of ahead of that frontal boundary before it pushes through and starts to give us some drier weather. Flash Flash flood risk, though, for today, there still is a marginal risk here in the green. And what this means, again, is that not any one spot or not every spot in this area is going to see heavy rain. But in places that do get heavy thunderstorms, there is the possibility that you could see enough rain in a short period of time to get some ponding on roadways and the ditches starting to fill up with water and things of that nature. So you just want to be aware of that. Looking further to the east, actually a slight risk of flash flooding across a good portion of south central Georgia. And that is having to do with some flow coming off the backside of Aaron. So a little bit of enhanced moisture over there, but not quite as much in this area. And then looking ahead for Sunday evening into the first part of next week, we're looking at our forecast dew points because you're going to see that front come through as we get into early Monday morning. So getting those 50-degree dew points all the way across the state by the time we get to early Tuesday morning. So once we get there, that's going to be some nice cool mornings ahead. So we're keeping an eye on the tropics still. Thankfully, Hurricane Aaron is starting to pull away from the U.S. East Coast, moving up towards the Canadian Maritimes. Huge storm, not looking as healthy as it has been in previous days. Still 90-mile-per-hour sustained winds with gusts up to 115 miles per hour, but moving pretty rapidly to the northeast at 28 miles per hour, kind of accelerating as it typically would as it gets further north in latitude. And as we watch the rest of the tropics or the rest of the Atlantic over the next 7 days, we do have a couple of places to look at. The red area here is the same one we've been talking about all week. 90% chance that this wave here develops into potentially a depression, could get eventually named, but not looking to be extremely organized compared to Aaron for sure. And again, thankfully turning even sooner than Aaron out to sea, so we don't have to worry about that as far as land impacts. Then we have the next wave down towards the south, 50% chance of development. Next couple of days won't be in quite favorable of conditions, but as it moves further to the west, it could get into more favorable conditions as it approaches the Caribbean. Now, this is low enough latitude, though, that we expect the impacts that it could have eventually will mainly be in Central America, not really expecting impacts here. And so again, as we get to the end of August and into early September, not expecting or seeing any sort of tropical mischief in the Gulf or anything like that. And looking at our 7-day forecast, things to be excited about here. Of course, it's going to be in the low 90s, upper 80s in North Alabama in some spots with some smaller chances of rain today, but more enhanced chances as we get into Saturday with a 60% chance. But again, look at those temperatures as we get into early next week. Highs only into the low 80s in a couple of the days. Lows down in the upper 50s in some spots. And I think there's going to be a number of spots for a couple of mornings that'll get into the 50s with those low dew points. And so that'll be super nice in North Alabama. And then South Alabama, a similar story, although enhanced rain chances for today and tomorrow, and then starting to back off a little bit as we get into Sunday. And then look at the temperatures there as well. Not quite as low, but still nice for this time of year, getting only into the maybe mid to upper 80s. And then those lows down into the 60s with that drier, more comfortable air mass in place. Well, that does it for your Alabama forecast. We'll have more coming up on the Alabama Weather Network.